You'd think this would be front page news. Like, you have two Republican congressmen saying, "My party infected with Russian propaganda." Anyway, what's your take on all that?
Well, I mean, let's look in a different world. If this has just been like a non-enemy France, right? If they're like, yeah, French propaganda,
Right.
government of France, people would be outraged. This is Russia. This isn't just some country that we're agnostic about. This is one of our enemies. Look, they're both right. I mean, obviously, they're both right, and I think it shouldn't come as a surprise, when. But here's what really kind of drives me nuts about that, Tim. Yes, they're both right. They're also both going along with the Russian propaganda in the party.
Yes.
It's saying, yes, okay, Tim, I'm going to come in front of you because you have an audience that'll react well to this, which is what he did on CNN. Yes, Russian propaganda is infecting, and people are going to praise me for saying that. But then he goes back today. Both of these mics will go back today to Washington, D.C., and not pull the trigger on forcing this bill to the floor. Now, maybe they will eventually, but it's been 6 months of them listening to Russian propaganda. And these aren't just two rank and file Republicans. These are the two Republicans that are head of the most powerful committees dealing with this issue, foreign affairs and intel. And yet they'll go on CNN and say it. And again, I don't want to discourage that. So I'm not sitting here just crapping all over, but it's like, at the same time, you two alone. Yeah, you go to Newsmax, go to Fox, put out a tweet. You two alone, without anybody else with you, can guarantee that the aid bill gets on the floor. And yet again, it's this go to the correct news outlet where you can say the things, because nobody on your Fox outlet's going to be watching CNN, and then just go quiet and let Marjorie Taylor Greene run the day. That's what drives me nuts, because this is not an esoteric, this isn't just an exercise in what are our tax rates going to be? Right. Is it, are the trains going to run on time? This is human life.
It just drives me nuts. And there's just like a natural, this is the thing that is kind of related to your point, right? But it's like, if you've accepted the premise that the reason why the aid isn't going to Ukraine is because Russian propaganda has infected your party, then there's like a natural response that should follow on to that premise, right? Which is that I should do something to combat this. I should maybe work with the Democrats. I should use some procedural maneuvers. I should confront the propaganda, right? But it's like, they think that that's the end, right? Like, they acknowledge that this is happening. That's bad. But now I don't have to do anything about it. It's not my responsibility.
My body is riddled with cancer. Do you want to go to lunch? Right? Like, how about we take you to the hospital, right, so that you can figure out how to get rid of this, right? Yeah. It's like, and this is
chemo is called for over on Newsmax. Yeah.
Chemo, and trust me, I've never had chemo, but like, chemo isn't fun. Everybody I know that's had it, it's brutal, just like taking on Russian propaganda and infection in your party. But it's like, the two guys like Mike Turner and Mike McCall are the most respected on foreign policy left in the Congress. And they'll go on TV and say, Russian propaganda has infected our party. And, but boy, I'm endorsing Donald Trump for 2024 because, make America great again.
Do you see these guys in the CNN green room? Not your CNN man. I guess you're doing it from Zoom, but like the remaining normals, like, are they mad at you because you say this sort of stuff, or are they whispering, "Hey, I'm with you, keep going"? Like, what kind of, what are you getting from them?
So it's funny. I stay in touch with a lot of people, and and they're still polite. I think it's weird. It's like, I try to put myself on the other end, which is like, when I was in Congress, if there was somebody that was kind of critical of what we were doing, would I hate them? And the answer is no, because I'm like, I probably would agree with them, in a large part. So most of these folks, I stay in touch with. I mean, there's a few that I've have no contact with. Mike Gallagher is one of those, because he was a huge disappointment on impeachment. And I heard your discussion about his early retirement. And I agree. I mean, Mike Gallagher should be the one right now on the floor of the House of Representatives shutting the floor down, for God's sakes. He's leaving.
He's got nothing better to do. He's got 10 days. 10 days left. Might as well do something.
And he's not going to run for office again, obviously, retiring this early. And so, but I stay in touch with most of them. I mean, I think it's an understanding that, look, I get it from their perspective. I don't agree. I understand how hard it is to speak out. Yeah. But like, for God's sakes, this is just such a moment in history. And I'm not saying this is like just to make a good podcast. Like, I really believe that this is what, like, in my lifetime, this is the most important thing that we have ever dealt with. And
this being the Ukraine-Russia war,
yeah,
or just the democratic threat, or the whole kit and
I think it's all of it, but
Yeah.
I guess in this context, it's Ukraine, it's the Russian interference, it's the division in the country. It's like the most important moment. And like, these guys could get statues in Kyiv built to them. They literally could get, Mike McCall Avenue in downtown Kyiv, and they just can't do it.